But also, I think the thing is that the Sabbath, and I think he says later on, the Sabbath was made for man. The Sabbath was created so that man could appreciate rest, that man could appreciate the good things that God has blessed us with, and not the way around, that there would be slaves, we would be slaves to the Sabbath.
Well, let me ask this. This is not really this wasn't any questions I have, but I think this is a good place to put this question in here. So since if Sabbath was made for man, why did God rest on the seventh day after making making earth and everything in the creation?
I would like to say something about that. Which is funny because I was about to ask the same question in a different way. When it says that he rested on the seventh day, seventh and Sabbath is not the same thing. You see, we were the one that decided that it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't really matter. Like the day doesn't matter. If the Sabbath was for us, that we should rest on a day of the week, then why did God do it? Why did he rest? I think it was more for an example for us. Because he was creating the world for us. And he created us in his image because he wanted to have a relationship with us. And so he was giving us an example. I think that's the only reason. He did it as an example for us so we would know how to live, because he created us in his image, but we are human. He is God. So we need to rest. God doesn't need to rest. So he only did it as an example. It's kind of like a parent. A parent, wants us to do something and shows us, like models it for us. Doesn't mean that they have to do it, but they model it for us so that we could know how to do it. You see what I'm saying?
Could be.
But can I say this? I think part of the problem is the definition of work. I think part of the problem of obeying the Sabbath, the Jews and Jesus obeying the Sabbath law, was how they defined work. As he pointed out to them, and I don't know if it's in the scripture later on or is in another scripture, he says, listen, if one of your oxen, he called them hypocrites. He said, listen, if one of your oxen falls into a ditch on the Sabbath, wouldn't you pull it out, or would you let, in other words, you wouldn't let it drown, you wouldn't let it stay there, and pulling the ox or your cattle out of a ditch, that is work. That's a lot of work, right? But he said them, you're a hypocrite because you would do that. But they make people carry these heavy burdens. They can't carry more than 1/10 of an ounce of something on the Sabbath, and silly stuff like that. And so I think the idea was that Jesus healing this man, healing the man and telling him to carry it, that has special significance tied to his healing, right? And so for him to carry it on the Sabbath day, this man is celebrating the fact that for 38 years he wasn't able to walk, and now he's lifting up this thing and exercising the strength in his limbs and stuff. I think so. I think the whole thing is the definition of work and the recognition of the work of God in this man.
I've always had a personal conviction about working on a Sabbath, right? And I think that, in my opinion, there's a difference between working for selfish gain and working for the Lord. And I think that working for the Lord, I think it should be in any given time, in any given day, while as working for, for ourselves, for our personal gain, that's where we should have boundaries and have a day of rest, because it is taxing on our body, and our bodies need that rest, right? God isn't crazy. He made our body with the need of rest and the need of restoring itself. That's why he created, he made us to sleep, all of that. So we need a time of refreshing, of restoration, of that rest. And so I think that when we're working for the Lord, I think that's where, and I don't think that I know that there's a specific Bible verse that would define the two differences, right? But I think that there's a difference between working for the Lord and working for oneself. I think when you're working for the Lord, it is not as taxing as on our body as it is, and I'm not saying it can't be, because it sure can be, in several circumstances. But I just think that there's a difference, and there's a need for rest of, in our body, regardless, in my opinion. So I think that that's why the Lord rested, to give us that example, so that we too, would imitate him in resting. So I think he did it for a reason.
I think I agree. I agree. I think it also has to do a lot with trusting God. I know some people who work 7 days of the week, and I think it has the idea. I think, and the idea has to do with, can we trust God to not work and know that He will provide for us? It's kind of bound up with tithing. Can we trust God to give back to Him some of what He has given us and know that He's still going to provide for us with the balance? And I think this idea of a day of rest, a day of trusting God, a day of resting in what God has done. God, on that seventh day, God looked at what He had done. He said, listen, after He had created, God looked at what He had done. He said it was good. And I think that seventh day was a day where God rested. He appreciated what He had created. And it's an invitation for us to do the same. Reflect on what God has done for us over the past week, and rest in it, relax in it, trust God in it. So we don't have to be hustling to make that dollar, because we know that God created this rest for us. He has given us this day for rest.
Thank you for helping us reach 200 subscribers. Please continue to like and share these videos with friends and family. And I look forward to sharing more videos with you. Have a blessed day.